welcome to part 2 of the transitioning hair care tips Q&A. Now if you haven't seen part 1 yet, head over to the main hookup, their page, and you'll see it right there on their IGTV. If you have seen it, then enjoy part 2. Next question, can you transition without doing a big chop? Yes, you can. You can transition without doing a big chop, and it's exactly what I did. It's exactly what I did. Back then, this was like 6-7 years ago, so there was less of a saturation in terms of the amount of people with opinions and different things going on in the hair community, and different people saying what's right and wrong and what's what. But a big chop then wasn't just when you shaved it off and started from zero. Big chop referred to, I don't know if it still does, but based on the way this question is worded, I'd say it isn't. A big chop is just when you get rid of the pre-transitioned hair, whether that's from zero or from having your natural hair reach up to bob length. It's just the process of chopping off the pre-transitioned hair. So yes, you can transition without having to do a big chop. You could literally just trim it off gradually and let it grow out until, doing your regular trims, it would be cut off anyway. You can just transition that way. But I did big chop and transition. I transitioned for almost a year until my hair reached about 4 or 5 inches, a length that I felt comfortable enough to be letting go of the relaxed ends. So that's what I personally did. But no, you don't have to just go straight for a buzz cut and chop it all off at once. You can actually just do it step by step and learn your hair as it grows out of your scalp, just gradually. There's no reason, there's no urgency or necessity to just chop it all off at once. It's a personal preference thing. Me, when I first went natural, I was 15 years old and I did not have the guts to come to school the next day with just like a buzz cut of hair or a tiny little afro. I didn't have the guts. So that's not what I did. So I just let it grow out naturally and trimmed at the ends until I was tired of trimming it, and I just decided, you know what, I've got a couple of inches left of relaxed hair at the end. I'm just going to chop it all off at once. And I had this done professionally. Now I trim my hair myself, but then I kept it to the professionals because I wasn't sure what I was doing. It's a confidence thing. You learn your hair more, you get more confident with what to do with it, what it likes, what it dislikes, what it needs and what it doesn't need. And it's the same case for when you're transitioning. You learn your hair and it's a process, it's a journey, natural hair journey. It's called for a reason. The next question is, are there any tips for wash day routines for people who've just started to transition? Yeah, I have a couple tips. First of all, again with what I said earlier, you're going to want to treat your new dual texture of hair completely different to how you treated your pre-transitioned hair. So that's the first thing to bear in mind when you are dealing with wash day whilst you're transitioning. Because when I had relaxed hair, for instance, I was able to just wash all my hair at once. Just my whole head of hair, I'd just shampoo and condition, and yeah, that's how I'd do it. Whereas when I was transitioning, I learned that it was best for me to deal with my hair in sections. A lot of the things that I'm about to say regarding wash day for transitioning hair is exactly the same thing that I'd say for when your hair is natural. Because you're gonna have to start putting into place healthy hair practices as you mean for them to go on. And one of those things is sectioning it before you wash it. So I would use clips. Clips are a definite thing that you might want to invest in. They really helped me. They still help me now on wash day, because washing your hair in sections just means that you're able to pay closer attention to your hair and care for it more gently. So yes, wash day tip is putting it in sections. I just part my hair down the middle and from ear to ear, and work with it in 4 sections. And this allows you to just be a bit more gentler regarding the care of each section, and especially where that point where your hair meets, where the 2 textures meet, the natural hair and the pre-transitioned hair, it allows you to be more gentle when it comes to addressing those parts as well. Because on wash day is when you may come across more tangles and you're having to deal with them. You wouldn't want for those tangles to just end in breakage because of poor care, poorly treating the hair. If you're also not in the habit of doing so, get your deep conditioners out. Like, you're going to want to deep condition your hair and strengthen it. So protein treatments. This is something that as you begin to take more and more care of your natural hair, as it begins to grow out and you grow out the pre-transitioned hair, you're going to want to get into the practice of doing protein treatments and deep conditioning treatments. And the more you learn your hair, the more easy it will be to determine which your hair needs. But at the beginning, on the wash day, I get into the habit of doing a protein treatment or a deep conditioning, just alternating between it, because one's going to strengthen the hair and one is going to really nourish and feed the hair, keep it soft and healthy. The next question is, what are some good go-to hairstyles for people who are transitioning? This is a really good question, because when you're working with the 2 textures of hair, it is such a challenge to style it, because the 2 textures don't respond to products or don't respond to styling in the same way. I remember trying to do a twist out when I only had about 3 inches of natural hair and probably 3 inches, maybe 4 inches of relaxed hair at the ends. Probably more relaxed hair than that at the ends. But I remember trying to do a twist out on that, and let's just say I don't like to look back at the pictures because it just didn't work. It was not a successful twist out. My hair was not able to work with that style because I was working with my new regrowth, and I was working with relaxed hair, and relaxed hair will not hold a twist out the way your natural hair will. Quite frankly, it won't hold the twist out. It's too straight. It doesn't have the elasticity that is required for a twist out to work. So avoid, as eager as you might be to try all these, braid outs, wash and goes, and all of these things, as eager as you might be to really get into these natural hairstyles, you have to acknowledge your hair just isn't there yet. It will be, but it's just not there yet. So a style that I would recommend, that I used to do during the transition stage, is a bun. I used to do a bun, and I used to be as gentle as possible to my roots, my healthy regrowth. And I would just slick it up into a bun with a donut, because the benefit of having relaxed hair at the ends is that my hair sat and folded over the donut so easily. It wasn't a struggle at all. It just sat over it. It was straight. The only challenge was trying to get these 2 textures to blend so it looked like it naturally kind of smoothed into my bun, and that required just a good gel. Not harsh gel. You want to avoid those kind of hair waxes, any of those really hardening gels. You want to get one that's natural ingredients. It's best to get one that has natural ingredients, definitely water-based, and use that. And use a really gentle brushing technique with a gentle detangler in order to brush it up. But that's a really good hairstyle that I'd recommend for transitioning hair. Other hairstyles that I'd recommend are braids or twists or extensions. I really loved braids. I used extension hair and I just put my hair in braids, or Marley twists. But now you've got goddess locks and passion twists. There's so much more that you're able to choose from. So now is actually a really nice stage for you to experiment with your hair and try different things that you might not have tried before. You've seen on natural hair pages that you really like, Ghana braids, or any of these protective styles that are going to keep your hair tucked away and limit the amount of possible damage or breakage that could occur. Of course, bearing in mind that you're going to have to be mindful of how long these hairstyles stay in for, as with any protective style, because when you're transitioning, again, that point where your natural hair meets the other texture is very fragile. So if your keeping in these protective styles for an excessive amount of time for too long, with that takedown process at the roots and at that point where your natural hair meets the other texture, it could lead to breakage and it could do a lot more damage than good. So again, being mindful when you're doing these protective styles about how long you're keeping them in, and just the general maintenance, making sure your hair is moisturized underneath and that you're caring for your scalp and your hair whilst the protective styles in. But definitely go for protective styles, go for it, like try all of them out. Like you've got, it's the perfect opportunity because it's gonna benefit your hair so much, especially not to be touching it and doing too much with it. Keeping your hands out of your hair is a really good piece of advice to take, because you're not going to want to be doing too much to it during this stage. There's not a lot of things that you can do that you might want to do because of these two textures that you're working with. So yeah, protective styles, and also wigs. Wigs will potentially be your friend during this time as well, because it's another protective style. Again, you just need to make sure that you're caring for your natural hair underneath. Your wig can look as bomb, edges laid, the lace looking amazing, but it's your hair underneath that you're really wanting to care for at this time. So you don't want to neglect the natural hair underneath whilst having a bomb wig. So yeah, that's another hairstyle that I'd recommend, but make sure that you're caring for what's underneath. The next question is, how can I avoid breakage as I move back to my natural hair? I've mentioned a couple of ways that you can avoid breakage. So your detangling method, looking at the ways that you're styling it, your wash day practices, what you tend to do with it on wash day. But what else can I think of? Ways to avoid breakage. Investing in good detangling tools, because most breakage occurs during the process of detangling. So if you're detangling properly, if your detangling method is efficient, then the breakage is minimized. So me personally, the day that I found the ultimate finisher detangler by Tangle Teaser was a great day for me. I found it while my hair was natural, as opposed to when I was in the transitioning stage, but it's a really gentle and efficient detangler, so that's what I would recommend. There's other brushes on the market. I know that Instagram is bombarded with adverts for the EZ detangler, EZ. That one's one that has really great reviews. There's also the Denman brush. That one is a classic. Everyone loves a Denman brush. These are really good brushes to invest in because they're going to allow you to detangle your hair with minimal breakage because they're quite gentle. The other thing that you'd want to avoid in order to minimize breakage is detangling on dry hair. And that's just something you're going to want to do as your hair becomes natural anyway, because detangling dry hair leads to breakage. And with curly hair, kinky hair, afro texture hair, it's more prone to dryness anyway. So if you're trying to detangle dry hair, it's when it's at its weakest, it's when it's in its weakest condition is when it's dry. And if you're trying to detangle it, it's basically a recipe for breakage. So another thing that you'd want to avoid is detangling it when it's dry. You're going to want to use the leave-in that you would have invested in from my previous tips and apply that whenever you're detangling. And also good oils to try out would be like coconut oil, olive oil as sealants, and also just to smooth the hair before dealing with it, or even when styling it. When you're working with the two textures of hair, oil might help to make your hair look more uniform, not to weigh it down, but just to smooth it into a more uniform look, and also to coat it to seal in the moisture. Are there any hair tools or accessories that I should be using whilst I'm transitioning? I have mentioned a few. Hair tools and accessories being the detangling brush. You're going to want to invest in a wide tooth comb as well. That will really, really help you out when it comes to wash day or just dealing with your hair in general. One that you want to avoid is a fine tooth comb, because especially where those two textures meet, as I mentioned, it's a weak point, and if you're trying to get a fine tooth comb through that, another recipe for breakage. You're going to want to avoid one of those. And especially because if, like me, you have naturally thick hair that's growing from the roots whilst you're transitioning, and it meets thin, damaged hair, then it's even more of a challenge to detangle, because we're accustomed, we've learned that we should be detangling from the ends up into the roots. But what if the roots are really thick, really thick, and that's where all the knots are? It makes it more of a challenge to detangle. So you're gonna wanna take your time and invest in a wide tooth comb and a good detangling brush. And also, when you are detangling, make sure you're doing it on moisturized hair, whether that's moisturized with leave-in conditioner, but preferably moisturized with a deep conditioner or a conditioner. Like detangling your hair whilst it's conditioning is probably one of the best practices that you're gonna implement, especially during the transitioning phase, but onwards in your natural hair journey as well. What else would I say in terms of hair tools that you'll need? I've mentioned clips, a bonnet or a silk scarf. I tend to go for the silk scarf because my satin bonnet never stays on my head. Another accessory that you're gonna wanna invest in is potentially a silk pillowcase or a satin pillowcase. They are really great. Like, these are things that you might not have used so much when your hair was in its previous state, pre-transition. I know that when my hair was relaxed, I was not the best at caring for my hair, and I didn't know any better, to be honest. So I definitely wasn't using a scarf. I wasn't wrapping my hair in any sort of way. It might just go into a relaxed hair, damaged hair ponytail as I slept, and that would be it. But I didn't do anything with my hair. Yeah, it was not good. So now that your hair is going to natural, it's returning to natural, you're going to want to, as I said, start as you mean to go on. So get yourself a bonnet, get yourself a satin pillowcase, get yourself a headscarf, and just make sure that you're wrapping it every night before bed. But yeah, I think those are the main things that I'd recommend for whilst you're on this journey of discovering your natural hair and learning your natural hair and getting used to how it responds. And these are tips, all of these tips are things that I wish that I knew at the beginning of my journey. So I really hope that these are of use to you, because if I'd known them, I probably wouldn't have been through so much trial and error, because honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, I was transitioning before I was aware that I was transitioning. I'd just missed a couple relaxer appointments, and then next thing I knew, I had this little afro that was growing, and relaxed hair that was falling from that. And I was like, oh, okay, what are we working with here? So yeah, I hope that these have been useful for you. I hope you're able to take them into account and yeah, make use of these tips. And thank you for having me, Main Hookup. Yay! See you next time.